Welcome to the Fort Worth Starter Kit. My name is Sean Russell, and we are hoping that if you are considering moving here to Fort Worth, that we can convince you are making a great financial decision, but you're also making a great decision about community, and we're hoping that you get some sense of what it's like to live here and what it's going to be like to make this your home.
Yep, and I'm Holly Elrod. I'm with 6th Ave Homes right here in Fort Worth, Texas. We're a real estate brokerage, but we also do construction design, pool and outdoors. I've been in the business for over 10 years, and I was born and raised in Texas, mostly Fort Worth. But one thing I love about Fort Worth, it is a big city, but it's like a town because you can become a part of it and raise your family here.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi, and I am Tosya Kidd. I am also with 6th Avenue Homes, and I have been in the real estate business since 2012, and I made Fort Worth my home over 18 years ago. It feels a lot like home for me, being from the Texas Panhandle. Great sense of community, but there's always something to do.
Yep.
Well, I have been a banker for 20 years. I am known as the Cowtown Banker.
Yep.
And I work for a small bank called First United Bank. I was not born in Texas. I am a California transplant, so forgive me since you guys are already bragging about that.
Yes.
But I want to, I'm curious, like we had this idea of a Fort Worth starter kit, so let's give a little preview maybe of kind of what we might be doing. What do you got in store? What do you think is the perfect recipe for that?
Well, you have to become a local. That means you eat local, you shop local, and you become a great citizen and a part of the community.
Yeah, and we might be maybe shopping for some boots today, maybe enjoying some queso and some cocktails from local areas in the Fort Worth stockyards.
And showcasing all the beautiful restaurants and clubs, bars in the stockyards.
So Holly, we're here in the Fort Worth Stockyards Hotel, one of the most famous and truly historic hotels here.
Yep.
1907, I believe it's been open since. But there have been some notable guests here. So what did you find out about this hotel or this little part we're standing in?
So it's known, Fort Worth is known where the West begins, and so it was the birthplace of some Western movies, most recently 1883, which we all know. It has incomparable hospitality, which has brought some really famous guests like Willie Nelson, Dan Aykroyd, Garth Brooks, one of my faves. So lots more also on that.
And Tanya Tucker.
Oh yeah, she was on there too.
And Jim Belushi came with Dan Aykroyd. I'm assuming as a pair, but I don't know. But
maybe.
There's also someone that you know that has close family ties with you that was somewhat of an outlaw, but who would that be?
Well, Fort Worth was historically known for the cattle and cotton industry, which might have brought some famous bank robbers, Bonnie and Clyde.
That's right. And you guys entertain them? They come over to your house for Christmas every year at the time?
Maybe a little bit here and there.
That's good. Yeah, there's a lot of outlaw history. There's ghost stories here in the stockyards and everything like that linger. Because again, this is where the West began. This is where the cattle and the money from the United States met. So we're going to start, we're going to start our journey. And your pathway, you've got to start at a proper honky tonk. Okay.
Heck yeah.
We're going to go across the street. Right from here is the White Elephant Saloon, and we're going to tell some more stories. And you can make fun of us dancing, maybe?
Maybe just a little bit, yeah.
All right. So we are here at the White Elephant Saloon with Big Tony. He's been here for 18 years, is that right?
Going on 18 years.
Going on 18 years. So we thought we had researched some history about this place, but you laid out 10 times
not near as much,
So give us a breakdown, because there's some fascinating history. I mean, ghost stories and outlaws and everything like that are here, but tell us a little bit about this place in your better version than what we have.
Well, so the White Elephant was founded originally in the 1800s. Early 1800s, 1820s. Originally, it was in a place called Hell's Half Acre, which was a red line district in the 1800s. Hell's Half Acre was touted as one of the most dangerous places in the nation in the 1800s. It was a huge destination for a lot of high-stakes gamblers in the 1800s. Luke Short, Jim Cartwright, the Pinkerton brothers, Annie Oakley, Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday.
Dang.
All your heavy hitter
all the
names.
good ones.
Right?
All the good ones.
All your heavy hitters.
All the good
right?
Western movies you ever watched.
Sure. So, like I said, originally it was in that Hell's Half Acre. After time went on, the White Elephant moved here around the 1900s, 1930s, and this area was a pretty rough area. Still a lot of conflicts, a lot of shootings, a lot of fightings. You wouldn't like bring your ladies down here. It's not like tourists like it is now, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So they started hanging hats of upstanding citizens that still came to the wild.
Right.
That's kind of the idea behind the hat collection.
Trying to encourage
Originally,
people to be good or be a little better.
Yeah. From what I can understand, it wasn't very difficult to get your hat on the ceiling.
And the bar was low.
Now it's quite different. Now, of course, it's more of a lifelong patrons. People that have been coming in for 20, 30 years.
Super
and
cool.
there's a list of people
Yeah.
trying to get on.
That
So
is
now,
awesome.
obviously, they also filmed Walker, Texas Ranger. There's some pictures right behind you. And Walker, Texas Ranger was filmed in the 1800s with what's his name, Chuck Norris.
Yep.
Chuck Norris.
Chuck. They filmed 1883 down here.
Yep.
That was really cool. That was very recent. The Taylor Sheridan
Yep.
show. This is Exchange Street, right up Exchange. They blocked off all the streets. They put dirt on the streets. They filmed held down here for like 6 months.
Yeah.
So that was very cool. That kind of put us on a worldwide map too. That put us, you notice a lot of business after that too. Oh, is this the place? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Then they did a lot of work on Mule Alley right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
We're headed there
That was-
next.
That was
Yep.
post-COVID.
Yep.
So that really, now it's just a huge destination
Absolutely.
for a lot of tourists. Yeah.
What about what do you think? A question I always have is always hear, well, this is a saloon or this is a honky tonk. What makes a proper honky tonk?
So that's a good question. People ask that a lot. I don't know. In my mind, so the Billy Bob's, like they count that as the largest honky tonk in Texas.
Right up the street, about 100 yards from here,
Yeah, not
200
very
yards
far.
from
You
here.
can
Yeah.
rock hit. Yep. Honky tonks, country music, bunch of old farts,
Boot scooting.
smoking and drinking.
Boot scooting.
I think that's
There has to be rootin' and tootin'.
tootin'.
Is that the deal?
We got both kinds of
Boot and
music, country and western.
All the essentials.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
So I don't think there's a big qualification for that.
Another low bar.
That's a good question because a lot of people ask that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have a question for you, Big Tony. Has Fort Worth always been a fun town?
Oh yeah, Fort Worth's a
Always
great
a
town.
fun time. Always a good time.
Fort Worth's a really
Yeah.
good town. Lots of opportunity in Fort Worth. It's growing exponentially. Fort Worth has a lot of room for growth because Texas is so big.
Yes.
That's
so
right.
the outskirts of Fort Worth, your outer cities, Weatherford, Aledo, Springtown, where I'm from, hometown.
There you go.
There you go.
Yep.
I live in
Weatherford, kangaroos. Kangaroos. Yeah. So there's a lot of room for growth that way. West. North.
Yes. Awesome.
Well, thank you very
for
much.
your
You gave us
time.
like a much
Yeah.
more detailed,
Yeah,
historical view of it.
Thank
Come
you.
in, have a drink, and I'll tell you the history.
We all know
Yeah.
if someone says we're going to a honky tonk, this in my mind is what I absolutely picture.
Yeah.
It's quintessential. Although I would also, in the same sentence, say I have no idea what makes a honky tonk a honky tonk. So what do y'all think? What makes a honky tonk?
I mean, is there a boot scooting boogie?
Bootin' and scootin'.
There has to
Okay.
be beer and dancing.
Yeah.
And moonshine, if it's something.
Maybe moonshine.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Well, when we were talking about shooting over here, one of the other great parts of the lore of this area are some of the ghost stories, gunfights, all that
Yes.
stuff. So tell us what you found out about this place.
So the owner of White Elephant, Luke Short, may have gotten in a little bit of a shootout with the most notorious corrupt sheriff, Long-Haired Jim, and he still might haunt this place. Maybe.
So
He
the
shot dead in the street.
So maybe.
long-haired Jim Cartwright story.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a card game gone wrong. A lot
Something,
of
yes.
pokering and card swapping and
Yeah.
cheating going on. And
Yes.
somebody got shot.
Yes.
Fort Worth's always been a little rough and
A little
wild.
risque.
rough and tough?
Yeah.
Well, Hell's Half Acre and that the history of this area. That's where this bar started, which would have been just south of here, closer to downtown. It was basically the Fort Worth red light district, where a lot of ladies of the night were doing their works.
A little more friendly these
Okay,
days.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We classed it
Not
up a
the
little
same
bit.
town.
No.
Yeah.
It
Same
moved-
spirit.
When we were talking to Big Tony earlier, he was telling us that this place has been open since 1830.
Yeah.
And that shootout was
1887, 78, something like that.
late 1800s.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
So, one thing that also is funny here is we talked about boot scooting.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I'm a musician and two-stepping kills me. You have to try it. It makes no sense to me. It's another one of those things that I don't understand the mathematics of what's happening.
It's a lot sometimes.
But I think we should do
I'm
it.
just saying.
We
Okay,
can
let's go.
definitely do it.
Yeah.
We definitely have to show how masterfully craftful. I mean, because of course, if you've been here more than a year and you can't two-step, what's the point?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like a must.
There's just a
Now,
few.
but before we do that, could I just ask, that I address the elephant in the room.
What?
You gotta be like, Tony!
I don't know what that's gonna be, but
We have to talk about the reason people are wanting to sit on the fence and are not excited
Don't
about.
talk about interest rates. We want to talk about it today.
We're trying to have a nice
Everybody wants to
dream.
talk
No.
about interest rates. That's all people call me about.
No.
That's the number one reason that people are waiting right now off the fence, right? They're sitting on the fence.
One of the reasons, yeah.
But I did some math for you guys, and I'm terrible at math. So you should check this math because it's probably a lie. But
Is it girl math?
it's
We're real good at that.
it's
We do girl math.
rounded numbers. So here's what I'm going to say. Most of the deals that we do out here, let's say on a $300,000 to $400,000 house. If you're going to buy a house, you're thinking I'm going to wait till rates drop, right? Normally houses go up around here about 8%. Is that about an average, or do you say over 10 years out on the high side? Is that generous?
It's generous.
But if houses are going up by $15,000, $20,000 per year, and we think rates are going to drop, when's the time to buy? And I think
Before rates drop.
before rates drop.
They
Because
are.
what's going to happen when rates drop?
It's gonna be super
It's
competitive.
gonna be the Wild West.
Yes, it is.
It will be the Wild West.
Good one.
Well played. That was masterful. Okay, and what does that look like? Y'all were. What was it like selling? What was it? 3 years ago, maybe. What was
It was
that
a
like?
little insane.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
It
What
was
was
a
it
little
like?
insane.
Yeah.
It was fast and furious. Buyers weren't getting houses that they wanted. It was
How many
competitive.
of your customers were paying more than the listing on the house?
Oh,
Every
I was gonna say everybody.
So if someone waited a year on a $300,000 house, they could see a $15,000 increase in the price in the
Correct.
house. But then everybody else is finally off the fence because we got a backlog because of where rates have been.
Yeah.
So let's say they're saving $200 in interest rate. On that size deal, if rates drop a point, it's about $200 a month.
Yeah.
Okay? So $200 a month times 12 versus $15,000 to $20,000 in increased value. That's really what we're dealing with. So I just want to say, time is not your friend when it comes to real estate.
Not really, no.
Real estate and land never get cheaper. So
Right.
the time to buy is
Is
to be
now.
out there.
Now.
If you can do it now, do it while everybody else is sitting on the fence, right?
Yep.
Is that a fair assessment?
Maybe. Let's
All right.
go two-step.
Now, we should-
You line it up.
Yo, let's do some shots.
Yay,
No
we win.
rates, all
We win
shots.
again.
Yes.
Yeah, no rate talk.
Ready?
All right.
Salud.
Salute.
Salute.
Yeah.
High fives.
Oh my God. Don't tell my PO. We've found the perfect spot. We've tried on boots.
Yep.
I think first pair of boots, my first pair was Lucchese's. I wore them out. I had them resold like 8 times. I love them. A lot of people, they think because their parents told them back in 1987 that the way to buy a house is with 20% down, for
Right.
instance. And that's a myth. But for most people, a first-time buyer can get into a house, for instance, with 3% to 3.5% down, the equivalent of sometimes first month's, last month's rent kind of situation. They can get into a house. There's ways to save on closing costs, where the seller can pay closing costs.
Yeah.
You mentioned closing costs themselves, but the sellers can pay for those closing costs as long as your agent knows what your goal is and where you need to be. They can land on that number.
And they can help with your buyer's commission sometimes.
Yes.
Can? Oh, how convenient.
What?
If
Yes.
you need
Yes.
representation.
Oh, well played. What a great job. Okay, so, but there was something else you mentioned, down payment and credit was the other one.
Yes, credit.
Okay, here's what I hear, just so you know. Your borrowers, a lot of times when they call me, they don't want to have me work on their deal because they think they're going to fix credit. So my
Right.
advice is, the things that they usually need to fix, what would you guess the base credit score requirement would be? Like for an FHA loan. FHA?
650?
620, okay.
Yeah.
That is, I think, so our bank, for instance, can do, we have FHA loans that start with a 580 credit score. FHA doesn't even have a minimum officially, but banks typically find it hard to qualify below. But here's the point. People, the things that they are doing logically to fix their credit usually don't help like they think it will and don't help them to get qualified. It doesn't cost to apply. I can help them with rescoring with credit and stuff. So I just, I feel like that's the primary one that a lot of times people wait for. I would say it doesn't help them to wait. So when you're buying your first house, I think it's cost less down payment than people usually think. I don't think it's as hard to qualify as people think. It's hard to pick a place, within a budget. But it's a process, right?
So the bottom line is hire professionals,
local
professionals, lenders, realtors to help you make that process that much easier.
Eat and shop.
Yes.
Eat and shop, local.